सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्म विद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च। So, as we have discussed before, we will go with the Anvaya of first 20th to 29th mantra. We can go, we can read the Anvaya, and then maybe we can open it for discussion regarding Sadhana Chatushtayam. Each one's understanding and applying it and trying to analyze like where Nachiketas has, and almost all the mantras we see, unless you don't have that, you can't be like Nachiketa. But then we will try to analyze through the mantras where the particular sadhana chatushtaya, you see the aspects of it shining brightly. Okay, so shall we go with the 20th mantra? येयं प्रेते विचिकित्सा मनुष्येस्ति एके नायम् अस्तीति चैके एतद्विद्यामनुशिष्टस्त्वयाहं वराणामेष वरस्तृतीयः. This is the 20th mantra. Moola Anvaya is Manushye Prete. This is as per Guruji's, notes. So he has given this Anvaya. Manushye Prete Sati Yeyam Vichikitsa Asti, in brackets. When a person dies, there is this doubt. Ayam astitya eke na astiti cheke. Some say he exists, that is within brackets, even after death, and others say that he does not exist. Therefore, etad vidyam tvayaham anushishtaha. I would like to be one who is taught this knowledge by you. This is the Anvaya. Varana Meshavaras Tritiyaha. Among the boons, this is the third boon. So this is what Nachiketas is. This is Nachiketa asks for Atma Vidya through the third boon. That is what it says. So the next mantra is Mrityoho. In case you have any doubts or you have something to discuss, you can note down and please discuss after the mantra. Anvaya is done. Mrityoho Pariksha. That is the next. Until the end of this section, it will be Mrityoho Pariksha. So he is testing Nachiketa, and Nachiketa's Vairagyam is exhibited in almost all the mantras. Devairatrapi vichikitsam pura vichikitsitam pura nahi suvigneyam anur esha dharmaha anyam varam nachiketo vranishva mamo parotsirati ma srujainam. This is the 21st mantra. So, atra, etasmin vastuni, with respect to this topic, Daivair api vichikitsitam pura. Even the devas entertained doubt long before. Eshaha atmakyaha. The atmakyaha is picked from the Bhaashyam. Dharma anuhu bhavati etadhi na suvigneyam. This Atma is subtle for comprehension. The subject is indeed not easy to understand by avivekinaha. He Nachiketa. He Nachiketa is like he Nachiketo. Anyam asadigdha phalam varam vrinishva. Ask another boon. Ma mom Ma momapo rotsehi. Do not compel or besiege me. Mam prati enam atisrajya. Atisrajya, give up this boon for my sake. This is what Yama is pleading. Nachiketa. 22nd. Devairatrapi vichikitsitam kila tvam cha mrityo yansa suvigneyam artha vakta chasya tvadrak anyo nalabhyo nanyo varastulya etasya kaschet. Here Nachiketa clarifies that he is interested in aganta, arupa, akarta, chidatma, not ganta, rupa, karta, chidabhasa, because earlier he was offered the boons with respect to going to heaven and all that. So it is here in the notes, it is like clearly he wants that Atma Vidya. Atra devairapi vichikitsitam kila. Indeed, with respect to this topic of Atma, a doubt was entertained even by the Devas, is it not? Mrityoho yan na suvigneyam atha. So, hey, yasmat is all added in between. Iti, chatvam, katahisi, because it has to complete the meaning. And O Yama, and you say that this is because the truth or the reality of Atma is not easily and correctly comprehended. Asya dharmasya vakta cha asya tvadrik anyo na labhyo. Moreover, another learned person who is a teacher equivalent to you is not to be found. Ataha etasya maya prishtasya varasya anyo kaschid api tulya varaha nasti. Therefore, there is absolutely no boon equivalent to this boon. So 3 reasons are given here. It is why he wants the boon. Difficult to understand. Even Devas entertained. They are entertained by doubt. And there cannot be a better teacher than Yama. These are the 3 reasons he gives to stick on to that boon. He is not tempted by Yama.
Shankara gives one more reason.
Yeah.
Shreyas prapti hetuhu.
Yeah. So it is an Atma. Okay. Yama tempts ihaloka bhogaha, long and prosperous life. 23, 24. Both the mantras cover the same topic. Shatayushaha putra potran vrinishva bahun pashun hasti hiranyam ashwan bhumer mahad ayatanam vrinishva swayam chadi jiva sharado yavad ichchasi. Shatayushaha putra potran vrinishva bahun pashun hatti hiranyam ashwan bhumer mahad ayatanam vrinishva swayam chadiva sharado yavad ichchasi. Shatayushaha putra pautran vrinishva. May you ask for children and grandchildren who will live for 100 years. Bahun pashun hasti hiranyam ashwan. And ask for plenty of cattle, elephants, horses and gold. Bhumer mahad ayatanam vrinishva. Ask for a great kingdom, that is vast land on earth. Swayam cha jiva sharado yavad ichchasi. That's what it goes by. The Anvaya, Yavat Sharadoho Ichchasi Swayam cha Jiva. You may yourself live for as long as you want. That's what it says. And next, 24th also is Yama tempting Nachiketa with Ihaloka Bhogaha to become the emperor of the earth. Etat tulyam yadi manyase varam vrinishva vittam chira jivikam cha maha bhumau nachiketas tvam yedhi kamanam tva kama bhajam karomi. So summary is continuing Vairagyam. Ask anything you want, including a vast region on earth. So Moolam Anvaya is yadi etat tulyam varam manyase. In brackets, tamapi tvam vrinishva, tvam vittam chirajivikam cha vrinishva. If there is a boon that you think is equivalent to this that I have told you, ask for that along with a long life and more wealth. Nachiketaha mahabhumau tvam raja edhi bhava. O Nachiketa, be emperor over a vast region. Aham Tva kamanam kamabhajam karomi. I will make you fit for enjoyment of all desirable objects. Yama offers amutra phala bhoga. That is here, atra. Ye kama durlabha marthyaloke sarvan kamang. Okay, there is a mistake here. 25th mantra. Sorry for that. The slide. Yeah. Ye kama durlabha martyaloke sarvan kaman chandadah prarthayasva ima ramaha sarata saturyaha na hidrisha lambaniya manushyaih abhirmat pratabhihi paricharayasva nachiketo maranam manuprakshihi. Moolam Hanvaya, ye kama martyaloke durlabhaha bhavanti tan sarvan kamanchatvam chandatah prarthayasva. Please ask as you wish without hindrance for all those desirable objects which are difficult to gain on earth. Ima sarataha saturyaha ramaha. These are celestials who come with their own musical instruments in their own chariots. Idrishaha manushyaih nahi lambaniyaha. Such things are not possible to be gained by mortals. Mat prattabhihi abhi ramabhihi tvam paricharayasva. May you get served by these celestials given by me. He Nachiketa. Maranam manu prakshihi. O Nachiketa, may you not ask about the topic of death. So, this is what 25th mantra is about. 26th. Shobhava martyasya yadantakaitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejah api sarvam jeevitamalpameva tavaiva vahastava nritya gite. So 26th it says Yad shobhavaha, the things of enjoyment you offered are ephemeral. O he nach antaka, O cause of decimation, martasya indriyanam etat tejah jarayanti, and weaken the capacities, brilliance of the sense organs of action and mind of mortals. Apicha sarvam jeevitam alpam eva. Also, all life is brief alone, even Brahmajis. Tava vahaha nritya gite, let your vehicles, dances, and musical instrument, tava eva tishtantu. That is in brackets. Let it remain yours. That's what he says. So, here shobhavaha is important. The things described by you, which are subject to doubt, will they exist tomorrow or not? That's what it means. So 27th. Na vittena tarpaniyo manushyah lapsyamahe vittamadrakshma chetva jivishyamo yavadishishyasi tvam varastume varaniyah sayeva. Manushyaha vittenam na tarpaniyaha. Man cannot be satisfied with wealth. Tva adrakshma chet vittam lapsyamahe. Since we saw you, we will gain wealth. Yavat tvam ikshishyasi tavat vayam jivishyamaha. As long as you reign over the department of death. That's what it says. This is Jaykumarji's, Guruji's translation. We will live that long. Metu saha varas eva varaniyaha. Varastu me varaniyaha sa eva. The boon that must be chosen, sought after by me, is that self-knowledge alone. A Viveki will not be committed to long life. That's the heading which has been given to 28th mantra. Ajiryatam
1 minute,
amrutam.
Mera.
Sorry.
The last Jivishyami that you explained, no? Can you explain it again once again? Jivishyami.
Jivishyamaha.
Jivishyamo.
Yavatvam ishishyasi tavatvayam jivishyamaha. As long as you reign over the department of death, that is in brackets, we will live that long. Again in brackets. That's what it says. If you want more detailed explanation, we will go into the Bhaashyam. Okay. After the Anvaya.
Okay.
Ajiryatam amrutanam jiryanmatyah kvahadahastah prajanan abhidyayan varnarati pramodan atidhirge jivite ko rameta Varnarati pramodan abhidyayan prajanan. Having examined the pleasures of dance, music and such enjoyments, and being aware of their limitation, ajiryatam amrutanam upetya, having approached the non-aging and immortal devatas like you, ko jiryan matyaha, which decaying mortal, kva adhaha staha, living down on earth, atidirge jivite rameta, will delight in long life. So this has another meaning with respect to tadastaha. Okay. Varnarati pramodan abhidyayan tada astaha. With respect to that, the meaning will change. Having examined the pleasures of dance, music and such enjoyments and being aware of their limitations, having approached non-aging and immortal devatas like you, which decaying mortal will have an obsession to committed ephemeral finite things like children, putreshu he mentioned somewhere. So like children and all that. Ati dirge jivite rameta, in long life. So these are the two meanings for that term, vadastha. Despite being difficult, teach me what I asked for. Yasmin idam vichikitsanti mrityo yatsam samparaye mahati bruhi nastata yoyam varo gudham anupravishto nanyatasman nachiketa vranite. He mrityo, O Yama, yasmin, that about which, devapi, idam vichikitsanti, the topic of life and death, which is most beneficial, even devas entertain doubts. Yat samparaye paraloka vishaye mahati mahat prayojana nimitte nahatat bruhi teaches that yaha ayam atma vishayaha varaha gudham anupravishtaha, that boon which has become very difficult to gain, Nachiketa tasmat anyam na vranite, Nachiketa does not choose any other boon than that boon. Choose any boon other than that boon. That's what it says. So overall would be, O Yama, that about which the topic of life and death, which is most beneficial even for devas, entertain doubts, teaches that boon which has become very difficult to gain, Nachiketa does not choose any boon other than that boon. So these are the 29 mantras. We'll look at it with respect to, you can discuss, we will look at it with respect to sadhana chatushtayam. Would somebody like to discuss about sadhana chatushtayam? I will give a brief understanding about it. For a person in the field of Vedanta, once he decides, once there is a certain amount of viveka is nitya anitya vastu viveka. That's what Shankaracharya says, like permanent and impermanent things. He has some understanding about it, and he is sought after the knowledge of the self. He knows there's something more to this life, and the purpose of life is to realize the self. Even though he doesn't have a very clear understanding, he has this viveka buddhi, for an understanding of impermanent and permanent things in life, and he develops a certain kind of vairagyam. All this sadhana chatushtayam is not one after the other. It can be one cause which leads to another, but it is all a package. It is not like I attain viveka, then I go to vairagya. It all comes together in small quantities. Then with sadhana, it just increases, it improves our understanding. With anything backed with the right understanding will become more intense. That's what it is. If you are thinking of shamadhama, that also, with as we understand things better, it becomes more, established. And similarly, all shraddha, uparati, or whatever it is, all the sadhanas are like, it is not like it follows one after the other. You have viveka, everything is backed with viveka, then it builds up. So you have some viveka buddhi, then you develop some vairagyam. Here also we have seen before, drishtanushravika vishaya vitrishna. So it was explained before, like you don't have a attachment towards anything you see or hear. It is all, subsiding with the backing of right knowledge. It's not like, it's different from yoga. Patanjali also talks about this in yoga, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, but there it is forcefully stopping, forcefully you are making an effort to have a sense control or control over your mind. But then in Vedanta, in Advaita, this thing, study Shastram, in Shastram, it is like there is no force. There is no force. Everything is backed by right understanding. And it becomes easy. This sadhana, that's why it stands apart, because you're not forcing. If you have a right kind of understanding that about permanent and impermanent things, and there's something more to life, then vairagyam follows. It is like you develop, that what is obstructing you from gaining that knowledge, you will slowly start moving away from it. That is vairagya. So that dispassion comes naturally. And then there is mumukshatvam is always there, because he wants, he's looking, his desire is for moksha. That is there. And there is one important thing in sadhana chatushtayam, which is shat sampatti, which is shama, dama, uparati, shraddha. Then you have what is that?
Titiksha samadhanam.
Titiksha samadhanam. Thank you, Sanjeev. So shama dhamma is again about, if you translate in English, it will be mind control and sense control, but actually it is backed by understanding only. Okay, so you're not forcing. Shama is mind control. So you have a good understanding, you have viveka, and you have vairagyam, which is dispassion towards things which are not leading you towards your goal. That has to be backed by shama and dhamma, because what is obstructing is your mind. So mind has to gain some kind of, control by right understanding about the subject and knowing where you want to head to. And then it is backed automatically by mind control is important, because mind is superior. We have seen even in Gita that mind is superior to sense organs. So if the mind control happens, it's very easy for the senses to fall in place. So that is why shama, dhamma, you have to practice also with right kind of understanding. And this is basically heading towards conscious living. That's what I have seen. So I understand it that way. You become very conscious of your actions, words. That's what is heading you towards mumukshutva and moksha. And then comes your uparati. So it is when you are heading with the right kind of shama, dhamma, viveka, vairagya, then uparati is, mind is completely calm. So it is, you don't have to hold it to be calm. So your mananam, nididhyasanam, everything is becoming much easier. Earlier it was a lot of distracted mind was there, because of which your sadhana, your shravana also used to be, very difficult. You couldn't listen to the Shastram. Now that we are all sitting and listening to Guruji, so to some extent we can be happy that we have all this. To some extent we need to just brush up and increase this. Otherwise it's not possible to sit in a class and listen also. So that Shravanam also comes when there is a little bit of Uparati has to be there. The mind has to be fixed in the and focused in the topic. That is Uparati. And then you have Titiksha. Of course, when you have come to a class, there is a possibility that there can be so many obstacles. Overcoming that or keeping it aside and prioritizing is a kind of Titiksha. Similarly, in the path, you can come across because of our vasanas. It is not that something is creating. Our vasanas of the past could be obstructing our studies or our movement to. I mean, it's not a movement. It's not moving towards the goal. It is realizing your own self, our own self. So in that journey, there could be a lot of obstructions. So overcoming that with the right understanding is Titiksha. So holding on to it, Tapa is also Titiksha. So it is like being there with strong conviction, and it starts with the belief. Later, it is backed with the right kind of reasoning, understanding, and with a strong conviction is Titiksha. So you hold on to it. And then comes, Shraddha. Shraddha actually starts with Shraddha. The entire journey starts with Shraddha because you have Shraddha in Shastram, you have Shraddha in Guru's Vachanam. That is why you have some kind of, you could say, a faith in the Shastram. And later, maybe you are practicing, you are in the sadhana, you are using all the opportunities to strengthen this, and the understanding, reasoning, everything will back up, and it makes all of us become established in that Shraddha. Like if you see some of the books, they start explaining Shraddha as a faith, and when it comes towards the end, it is like backed with the right kind of understanding. Shraddha is, it doesn't allow any kind of obstructions come in the way of that strong conviction. And it is something, even when I was going through Periyava's Kanchi Paramacharya's notes on Sadhana Chatushtayam, very interestingly, he says it is in the beginning, it is starting with faith. It is, you have faith in the Shastram, you have faith in Guru Vachanam, and then it comes to a stage where when a practitioner is doing a sadhana, there is every possibility that the intellect can, cause problems. It can be an obstacle in the practice, because earlier there was a surrender. Now you have started doing everything and there is enough shamadama. There is a chance of ego coming up, and there is a chance of obstructing the sadhana. So he says this Shraddha, what has been mentioned is for a practitioner who is well established and he is convinced, there is every possibility that he can go down in his practice because of his intellect. Now earlier he held the intellect to be in the practice. Now it is time for the intellect also to, understand that it should not interrupt the practice. That is Shraddha. That's what Periyava also says in one of his books, which is beautiful, which has been translated in English by one of our professors who lives in our society. So then, Samadhana, when everything, all these things come together, and when the sadhaka is practicing, the Samadhanam in one of the books which I was reading, author was mentioning, it is something like Samadhi, where a person is, you may not call it a state, but a person is completely established. He is not a jnani, but he is established. He is like, he knows, he is focused, he has all the ingredients right for establishing in the self and realizing the self, because it's very, very, there's not much gap between his understanding and the self. So he has dropped, like somebody was quoting in other day in the class about the sculptor, no? When he is making the idol, he just chisels off all the unwanted things. So he has almost reached there. So it is, samadhanam is that he is completely convinced and his doubts have been cleared and he has reached that state where very easily he can connect to his self. That's what is samadhanam. And mumukshutvam, the final, in sadhana chatushtayam, viveka vairagyam, shamadamadi shat sampati, and mumukshutvam is mentioned as the fourth. So this is the mumukshutvam is something which you start off with, you know, you want to see something more, you desire for something more. You desire for something more, but when we all go deeper into the practice and when we are very established in the practice, probably I think even the desire for moksha also drops off, because that also can be an obstacle in the path of, you know, realizing the self, because it is completely a person dropping the ahankara and watching it consciously, beginning the sadhana, watching it consciously, and finally he is able to drop it and establish, means he is no more identified with it. So that is mumukshutvam, which he starts off and ends by dropping that as well. So that is what is sadhana chatushtayam. Now you can all come, you can raise. Yeah, you can raise your hand and connect it with the mantras. Whatever you feel is apt for these qualities, where you see these qualities of Nachiketa highlighting in the mantras, we can discuss that. Yeah.
Hariji, you had raised your hand.
Unmute yourself, Hariji. Please raise your hand and connect it, okay, with the mantras. It's okay, it can be a discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that if we go back to the third boon which Nachiketa is asking, probably some of his qualities will come out.
Third bone. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you get back to the third bone? That is 20th shloka, 20th mantra. Sorry. 20th mantra.
Yeyam prete vichikitsa manushye estityeke nyayamastiti chaike
Yeah.
yetat dvithya manushishtas tvayaham vareneshaha varastudiyaha.
Yeah. So what, how would you like to discuss this? Your understanding. It is like, yeah, please.
No, he is asking that some people say, Nachiketa is asking Lord Death, that some people say that there exists life after death. Some people say that they don't, there is no more life after death. Can you enlighten me about this?
Yeah. So what do you think the quality could be highlighted here?
No, I thought it would be nice if we discuss, no, rather than.
Yeah. What is you meant to say that this mantra, the sadhana.
Why did he? No, the question is, why did he ask that question?
Because he knows something more is there other than these things. He is looking for.
No, with what respect? You know, the quality when we are talking about.
Viveka, basic. Viveka is. The discrimination is, faculty is working well between permanent and impermanent things. He knows a clear, difference between ephemeral and permanent.
So, Vairagya too will be there, is it not?
Yeah.
That he is. So
yeah.
I felt sadhana chatushtayam can be discussed with respect to the, he's asking the third boon, because everything, all what we know about sadhana chatushtayam is there in the third boon.
Yeah, correct. That
So
is,
if we can get into that third boon a little more in detail. I am not an expert, since we are all discussing.
none of us are experts. We are only here to discuss.
Yeah, if everybody can contribute in that third boon,
Yeah.
probably
Little bit.
all the sadhana chatushtaya will come out of the third boon.
Yeah. So it is an understanding, I feel, knowledge is not created. It has to be discovered, right? It's not something which is created. So he knows that there's something which I don't have to ask and get. So he just needs that knowledge where he can realize. So he has that Viveka. Viveka Buddhi is there. So, and of course, as you said, Vairagyam has to be there. That's what is displayed in all the boons. He is asking everything. And one more, what I observed was, he is so compassionate, because we think when we are in this path, we have to keep ourselves away from everything and just bother about, we are here to attain and realize ourselves. To realize the self, everything else is an hindrance. But he is so compassionate. He is asking for the people. He is asking for his father, if you see in the beginning. So nothing is disturbing his strong conviction. That is one more thing what we have to observe. So we think everything is an obstacle in the path. It's not an obstacle, because everybody is on our own journey. So we cannot say somebody is not helping us. And his father's activity brought, immediately he got the Shraddha. That's what there is in one of the shlokas. The Shraddha which was already in him, it just sprung up. It just came at that particular moment. An influx of it happened. Why? Because it was already there towards the Shastram, and he saw that father was not doing the things properly. So that was there. So this is also sadhana chatushtayam. Beginning, you have to have the Shraddha. And later it becomes well established. Yeah, Vijayji.
No. Yeah. No, so what I was thinking is, okay, he was very ripe, about to get everything, whatever. The mumuksha, means moksha was his ultimate aim, and he was probably almost ready for that. So what he's asking is, after he has gone through many steps of whatever that you mentioned, mind control, sense control, and all those things, right? But for many of us who are grahasthas and on the journey, all those other things also need to be inculcated into us, right? So one thing which I just wanted to find out or know more from you is, you mentioned that mind is more powerful than the sense organs, right? But what I have felt, maybe I am wrong, in the beginning, maybe you have to exercise some kind of control at the sense level itself. Because once you let it in the mind is a very confused thing, right? In the beginning, till the time you get a control over it, then it can make you do things which you probably should not do if you are in this path. So I think initially some extent of restraint from certain things, suppressing certain things may be essential, is what I feel. Though you said in Vedanta, it says with Viveka only it should happen, and not with exercising control, or like in Ashtanga Yoga. So I feel in the beginning, maybe you have to stay away from things which you know is not the right thing for you to do when you're on the path, right?
Yeah. So beginning, what you are asking is right. What conscious living is what, as we progress in the practice, what we experience. We become very conscious of our actions. Till we become conscious of our actions, the understanding that this is not good for us should help us. You know, why you restrain? Again, with the right kind of understanding, directly, because instinctively we are functioning. That is when we lose control over senses, because we don't go to reasoning. It is not there. There is no reasoning happening. We don't give that kind of time for us to stop and think. We just go by instinct. That's why the senses are out of control. So as you said, keeping yourself away from that to some extent will help. But how long? Again, you have to develop the strong understanding and reasoning, because every time keeping away and going into the forest may not help.
No, not into the forest. Like I was reminded of Bhagavad Gita, I think second chapter 60 to 63, right? It talks about how the whole journey downfall starts, right?
Yeah.
The attachment and
Ladder of fall.
yeah, for the contemplation and then
Dayato
contemplation.
Vishayan Pumsaha.
That one.
Dayato Vishayan Pumsaha. Yeah.
So Vijayji, like supposing you are saying, okay, let me put it this way. You're constantly indulging yourself, right? And now you want to develop self-control. That is what you mentioned, right?
Yeah, no, what I'm mentioning is just asking Miraji whether we should, she said we need not, Viveka alone will serve us. Viveka
Yes,
alone, yes,
that.
Viveka we know that, okay, sense object, but the thing is our vasanas or whatever will get us to think about something, then that will become an attachment. From there desire arises, from desire whatever the other cycle starts, right?
So my understanding was slightly different. Like say you're constantly indulging yourself in sense pleasures. You're not aware. Assume that you're not aware. But for you to develop that control, you have to first recognize that this is good for me, not good for me.
That
is Viveka, right?
Assuming that we all have, because we have been listening to all this for long. But my point was, at times, at least personally, I feel that we have to stay away from some things forcibly.
Yeah,
but like I think like Narayanji.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miraji.
Yes, Ajit, please go ahead. If it helps, I think we should do it.
Yeah, so I think like Narayanji said, Vivekji, Vijayji, the very fact that you want to stay away from things, right? Like forcefully or not forcefully, the decision that you make that it's not good for me, I want to stay away from it. That is the beginning of Viveka, right? Like for a person who's not thinking, he may not even be knowing that I have to stay away from this, forcefully or not. The very thought that makes you okay, I need to, maybe this is not good for me, I need to stay away from this. That could be the beginning of Viveka, that it is that that you are exercising. The fact that like okay, yeah, this is not good for me, maybe I need to not indulge in this, and you are just taking that action, effortfully or not. That's the beginning of Viveka. And then slowly, like the other things, other factors come in, like Miraji says, and then the Viveka develops. But without the right understanding, that controlling thing will not be permanent, is the message.
Yeah,
that's how I understood that. That's how I understood.
So there are other so in Gita itself, 6th chapter, Pramati Balavad Drudam, right? I mean, it says mind cannot be controlled. Vijayji, just to sort of, yes, mind control is required, but Krishna says that is not the very lasting, or that is not a very, what's the word, sustainable, they use that word, right?
Sustainable. It cannot be done with force.
With force. So Pramati Balavad, so
Balavad Dridam.
Yeah, Balavad Dridam, he says, and Vayoriv solution. So all of those things are explained. Yes, you have to exercise an element of mind control in that sense, but it's clearly sort of said that is not going to last a long time. And the second thing, when we talk about mind, going back to Tattva Bodha, we have Buddhi, Chittam, and Manas as the three sort of components that make up the mind. So I think the planting of the thought that one wants to look for something beyond your daily experience, that Buddhi is, to me, the starting point of everything that can then get linked up and sort of the chain starts forming for yourself. Is how how it helps to think about it once in a while. Right, because there are distractions we don't need to talk about, but this particular inquiry crops up in your mind every once in a while. Is it something that is going to last beyond just the classes I'm doing, or what? I mean, I think at some point we have to also have that little confidence that it will continue. I think is how I've kind of put all the other
It's a, yeah, Niji is right. It's a kind of titiksha. Here also there is titiksha. Like you see in Nachiketa's this thing, one of the mantra, 3 nights he goes without food, without water to meet Yama. Why is it? Because he considers him as a guru, not that he is forcing himself to stop. He says like without the permission of the guru, because already I've been offered to Yamadharmaraja. So he is my guru now and I have to take his permission even to eat food. It's a kind of titiksha, the right knowledge, right understanding backed by dharma. And that is what leads us, gives us strength to move forward.
So
Yes,
That,
correct.
that's where then tapas and all comes, right? You
Yeah.
So Vijayji, you had asked at the beginning, you framed your question saying that grihasthas, how do we get into this, right? How do we progress on this? So when you say grihastha, Vivava itself is training you in Shat Sampatti. You look at it that way. All the 6 Shat Sampattis train you and you're in Vivaha only.
And one more thing, you don't have to actually go through pain in order to be a mumukshu, okay? It's a wrong understanding that everybody has to go through pain. It may not stay long. If you are somewhere subjected to good life, happiness, with respect to all, satisfying your day-to-day needs very well, then you might fall back again, thinking that why should I go towards this goal? So thing is, it's a wrong understanding that if you are suffering and if you are in pain, then you have to, then only you will aim for moksha. It's not true. Buddha was not suffering. He just saw others suffering and still he was able to. So Viveka need not be backed by suffering. It is the knowledge, the clear distinction between permanent and impermanent, and he knows very clearly there's no point in going after ephemeral things.
Correct.
So
And Nachiketa, over and over, I feel that he displays uparati. He never loses focus.
Correct.
All the blandishments, all the temptations Yama keeps throwing at him for a 5-year-old boy. And he just does not lose sight of the fact. Even the first and the second boon, let's say that they are aihic, they are for this life and his father and everything else. But again, he has that focus that yes, that has to be satisfied. Only then I can progress. I think that's all through the first Valli we experience that. I think.
Yeah.
So one more thing, Vijayji, is Grihastha. If you look at the way I recognize it is Brahmacharya is science, Grihastha is technology. What you learn there, you apply here.
No, I was asking the question for benefit of
Yeah,
all.
it is a very valid question. And there is, at some point of time, every sadhaka has to have some kind of, there is a conflict happening constantly till we are completely established, till we have completely been convinced. That's where the Shravanam and the listening to the Gurus help. Every day, Shravanam, Mananam has to happen. Other than that, there is no other way, because right understanding means it can drop at any point. Because the ego keeps playing, we can actually indulge in this, it's okay, life is short and things like that comes up. But then in spite of that, if we are able to actually hold on, it is because constant listening has to be there. Guru Vachana, Shastram reading, that's why Swadhyaya becomes a very, very important aspect of the journey. So your question is very much valid. Everybody are in the same path and we all experience it, but then it is possible to come out of it because Shastram says, now anchor yourself on Shravanam Mananam and then move forward. That's where Shravana Manana helps. And Nididhyasana also. When you take up these topics and when you sit and keep contemplating on it, you will find and you will get the strength to say, because there is a clear understanding between your response and your thought.
And I think what you contemplate starts to change, right? Initial contemplation was on the world.
Correct,
Now your
correct.
contemplation is on something else.
Correct. correct.
Because anyway, mind needs to attach itself to something.
Something, correct.
Now, where you attach it is where the whole thing starts. Okay, initially it's attached to the world, and so yes, all the sorrow and misery. But the moment you start attaching it to something that's more higher.
So that's why here you see Uttama Adhikari as Nachiketa, because his focus is so
That's why he's
established.
already there. Yeah,
It's already there because he has been offered a vast region. He says you can take elephants and a small boy can go all very looking at elephants and horses and gems, and because that's what even his father wanted, right? End of the day, he gave up everything to be happy in some world.
Yeah.
So he is not.
Manjulaji had a question.
Yeah.
Manjulaji had
Yeah.
something to
And
share.
even Premaji had a question. Yes.
Namaste Sarvebhya.
Namaste.
But when I have the knowledge, when I want to get out of something, I have to stay in that. Swami Vivekananda says, stay in that fear, stay in that whatever you want to get out. Otherwise, that fear will not go. It's the same in samsara. When I used to drink, eat everything, now I don't even want to do anything because that knowledge is there. So when I'm surrounded by everything, still I can be calm and I get out of it.
Correct. True.
Even fear of water. I used to be so scared of swimming. So I started swimming at the age of 50 because I stayed in that depth, deep water, as Swami Vivekananda said, stay in that. Even yoga says, stay in that pain to get out of the pain. If I followed so many times that it works fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hariji.
See, when Vijayji was asking that question about the strength of mind over the senses, have I rightly understood, Vijayji?
Sorry, yeah. No, I felt that exercising this sense control was better than letting it come into the mind and exercising the mind control.
No.
Maybe in the beginning, after a while,
probably. The fundamental Vedanta says that the subtle controls the gross. And the subtlety is based on the pervasiveness. So when you are talking about your senses, that is grosser than the mind, because mind is more pervasive than the senses. And the intellect is the most pervasive. So the intellect controls the mind.
True.
So it depends on the pervasivity.
No, that is right.
But then what Vijayji is saying is, in Vedanta, hearing, listening, everything is easy. When it comes to practical, you always, that instinct comes first till the knowledge is well established. The instinct is what makes us work, right? Like we work with fear because there is some kind of insecurity. That's why we indulge in something. So we have not overcome the insecurity. So the sense is working first, then only the thought process is coming right now. So that's what I was trying to say. It's very natural. Unless we don't get into Shravana Mananam regularly, these things we don't understand. When we are doing something, we just do it. Later we repent. That's what it is. So correct, Hariji, you're right. Premaji had something to discuss.
So just to finish on that, there's a progression also, right? First is using intelligence. From intelligence to intuition to instinct. I mean, that is the journey, right?
Yeah.
First, you consciously practice with using your intelligence. Then it goes to one level of subtlety, and then it becomes natural, instinctive.
Not intellect. We are talking intelligence means it is only information. When we are talking about equipment, it is intellect.
Yeah.
Intelligence and intellect are distinctly different. Intelligence is only accumulation of information, whereas intellect is the equipment which controls discriminative power which it has got. So it is,
Yeah, Premaji.
Premaji had something to say.
Yeah. I'd just like to see where my understanding stood. When Vijayji said the senses out of control and the mind are both operative as probably forces, then what happens is there is a trigger to turn them off and on. This includes the Vishaya, and it also includes your Adhikaratvam. A person who has a racing mind might be able, it goes only in steps perhaps. It doesn't go, okay, I will control my mind today, tomorrow, all my vasanas and impulses will die. It doesn't happen. When we encourage them, like Mr. Narayanan said, they multiply. When we don't encourage them, there is a tendency for you to review what is happening. And that happening has already advanced to a very large extent in Nachiketas, even though chronologically he is only a very little boy. But inside he has titiksha. He doesn't get, rattled by Yama not offering him and not listening to him properly and insisting that he do what he wants, which is hard on anybody. This is a reflection. But I was thinking, if there is a fire raging, there must be a switch which we turn on and off. This is my way of processing things. Maybe it is right, it's wrong, I don't know. So when the senses run crazy, it's not that you're not aware, you're very much aware. So what Vairagya brings with it is, there is something going on, what should I do about it? And according to your Adhikaratvam, you will deal with it in that way. So it is neither a failure nor a success. So what right now we are discussing seems to be whether it is wisdom to do something, what leads to intellect, what leads to intelligence. Intelligence is a factor to be considered. If you're not intelligent, you'll put your hand on the fire and get burnt. But all of us are assuming that we do have common intelligence. But sometimes, like in the Gita, Krishna says, impelled by the forces of nature, you act at that time bereft of proper thinking. That doesn't exist in this little kid. It's working like, I know what I want, I know what is happening, and I want what it is. And everywhere he's thwarted by an adult who does not want to give it to him. And he does not display any discomfort, any tantrum, any screeching, nothing. Yet, we feel as we are examining each of the verses, how in a very systematic way, the subject is being taught to understand the process globally. And not from the point of view of the person who is undergoing it, not from the point of view of a person who's already achieved it, but as ordinary human beings, how we go through the passage and only we will know where the blocks are. So it is true when Mr. Vijay said that when your senses are running crazy, putting a lid on it, if it is a fire, it will put the fire off, but there will be consequences. The pot can get burnt, right? Or there might be water which will start to explode when it hits the oil. So many things, consequences are there. And as humans, we are all afraid of consequences. And according to that, we use a discrimination. You don't go and fight a bully. Why? Because there'll be consequences. So that is my understanding. I think you gave a very nice explanation, Neera, saying that both are valid. You need a certain sense of control, which is implemented by your discrimination. Assume that you don't have that maturity, you won't have that discrimination. That is, again, governed by many other forces, which might be karmic, could be teachings, value systems, or whatever. So I think both of you raised a very beautiful question. And Hariji, you came to the crux of the point about, but you couldn't articulate yourself what you wanted to say. That's how I feel. But it's a good discussion, and thank you.
One more thing from an yoga perspective in terms of Indriya Nigraha. what Vijay mentioned. So even our Guruji keeps saying, you can't ask the ear to stop hearing, the eye to stop seeing. So what does actually Indriya Nigraha mean in that? How do you control the sense organs? So yoga gives you a different perspective on that. It says that the job of the ear is to hear, the job of the eye is to see, but there is something which is transporting that information back into your brain, which yoga calls it as the manas. So what it finally says that if you are able to break that connection between the indriya and the buddhi or the ahankara, I mean, yoga considers it as the sense organ gives you information. I mean, it's giving you data. The manas carries it into your mano buddhi chitta ahankara system, right? And the ahankara starts recognizing whether I like it, I don't like it, what am I supposed to do that? Then the buddhi kicks in, does a database search from the chittam and takes a decision. I mean, that is how yoga views the whole thing. So Indriya Nigraha actually means breaking the connection between the buddhi and the indriya of the manas. So the common example that is given is, say, when you're intensely watching a movie and somebody is speaking next to you, you don't hear. Though the ear is hearing, you don't hear because your mind is not engaged there. The mind is engaged in something else. So actually Indriya Nigraha is actually focusing the mind on something what you want to do. It is, you can't control the Indriya, that's what yoga says.
And also,
Perfectly said. Very
Yeah.
good. Very,
And
very, very
also-
pertinent. Thank you.
And also I would like to add to this, like that's the whole point in, Karma Yoga, what we learned in Bhagavad Gita, right? Doing our Nitya Naimittika Karma will automatically give us that kind of understanding and a foundation for us to hang on, because even if you are tempted by a lot of things around you, you have to do one set of things which has to be done by you. So that itself needs a lot of titiksha, and that itself needs a lot of viveka and vairagyam in order to hold on. And doing it with the right kind of attitude will bring about chitta shuddhi. That's what it says. And that makes you an adhikari, right? Karma yoga is making you, it's heading you towards becoming a uttama adhikari. So there's nothing to, feel disappointed about when the senses go here and there. Probably the right, backing it up with the right, and that's why dharma also comes into play, because even this is mentioned by Patanjali also. What happens when you are not in the dharmic way is like your senses go even more turbulent. So dharma has to be held, and adhikaritvam comes through karma yoga, and chitta shuddhi happens, and then a person is ready to pursue this knowledge. Even to pursue and understand the journey itself is with chitta shuddhi only, with some amount of chitta shuddhi only, we are able to sit here and listen to this. Otherwise it won't happen. So there is no need to feel disappointed, I feel, because you can't sit in the class if the senses are going all around the place for 1 hour also. It's a big achievement. So that means there is blessing. There is blessing, and punya is there.
One more point, Meeraji, what I wanted to also, probably I didn't articulate it clearly. So there are two levels at which maybe the intellect operates. This is how I think. Like, one is we heard it, we know it, right? Then you want to make that understanding strong. How that happens is maybe over a period of time. Like, for example, if just my example, I stopped having tea maybe now 8-10 years, but initially it was very difficult for me to stop. Meaning, I restrain, suppress all that, but after a while mind realized, oh, there's nothing in it. What is there to? So that came. Initial thing was, for whatever reason I stopped. Now I don't even remember why I stopped, but after a while now it's very established. Oh, now the tea, what any number of people having tea, nothing affects me. So that became strong over a period of time. Initially, yes, it was the understanding by hearing and shravana and all that, and even manana. So some things got cleared, but the intellect becomes strong when it knows the benefit coming out of it.
Correct.
Like here, the say over your mind is a big win, right? You're winning over your mind. That gives you a lot of strength. Somehow you feel good about it. So
that's because you have worked on that resistance, you know. There
yeah,
is
initially resistance, but now it's like established. It's now it doesn't require any resistance. But initially, yes, resistance is required.
Why you feel happy about it is not because tea was giving something and you realized. It's not because of that. It's because that you have won over that resistance, you know. You had that urge and it was pushing you towards it. And when you started refraining from it with backed with intelligence, you reach a point where you understand that you have won over that resistance. There was a constant urge to get something was a kind of stopping you from actually your intellect and the action. There was, you know, it was stopping you from thinking and acting. So when you start realizing it in small things like a tea, then you start thinking like everything is like this, because
everything is like that's what I was coming to. Then slowly you realize that yes, everything is like that.
Yeah.
Only thing is that intellect knowledge is there now, but then how to make the intellect realize that this knowledge is pakka knowledge. That is where that.
May I say something?
Yeah.
Going to a lower age, okay, say you were a child and your mother said, don't touch Vijay, the fire, the stove. Curiosity said, I have to touch it. Mommy is touching it. I have to touch it. I have to touch it. I have to touch it. And you kept going towards that, not because of anything else, but it was not like your tea, but it was an urge within you, call it energy. And then one day you touch the stove and it burns you. And then you come back and tell everybody it's hot. That's what happened right there. So here you're an adult, you're able to reason and say, oh, I left that and now I'm beyond that. I can go to another thing and get over it just like that. The child doesn't even know that. Instinctively, he touches, learns immediately and doesn't do it again. So that is the nature that the gurus are developing in us, that we don't have to process it. But it happens.
Just to add to what you are saying, Premaji, is biologically, biologically, the maximum number of sense receptors are there on the hand and the palm. So idea is to only burn your hand, don't burn the body.
Yeah, that's why as Hindus, we eat with our hands because the nerve endings tell us how much enzymes to secrete.
Yeah, so the maximum number of sense receptors are there in the palm and the soul.
Yeah, but we didn't have to know that. Our parents said, eat with your hands, and we ate.
And also
later on, as you grew up, you found out that the nerve ending sends signals to the brain to secrete the enzymes to digest.
And also,
so we are learning in different ways, but the fact that we are all listening and trying to figure out, each mind is thinking something different. All of us are listening, but each one is processing it in a different way, right? And the questions are going fiercely. What are they saying? I don't agree. I agree. So that is the process, and it's fun. That's why Nachiketa's voyage with Yama is so interesting to all of us. Because
that's why Guru also is so important, because when we start having this control over senses, as I was mentioning, we start exercising this control, we start becoming a little egoistic also. That's why Guru and Shastram is very important, because the minute we start realizing we are able to do something, Guru and the Shastram is the one which keeps us grounded. So it's very important to get it from the right person. The knowledge is because constantly the thought of we are making an effort to do something itself can be an obstacle. So being watchful of that is what we are aiming at, not sense control by say. So per se. So when you see a Jnani, he can go and have tea or coffee, nothing disturbs him, because he has understood and established in the self, in the sense he knows that he is not identified with it. That's what we have learned, right? So this is very important.
And
we have learned the theory of anitya and nitya vastu. Now we have to put it into practical.
Kshamadama, Titiksha, and all that Vairagyam and Indriya Nigraha is a part of our tradition. Now you look at our traditions. For every occasion, you have a Vradam, especially twice a month Ekadashi, and there are people who do Vradam every week. So this is
Yes.
basically developing that Nigra sense of control, right? A sense of sense of control.
So the life itself has been nicely molded in a way to practice sadhana chatushrayam for us.
Yeah, but may I say one more thing? In the Occidental and the Oriental thinking, in the Oriental thinking, we put a lot of disciplines as they become teenagers. When the child is small, he's had full freedom. He can go to sleep, grandmother is there. In Japan, it's even more. And at the age of 18, they can do harakiri to themselves. Consciously, they can kill themselves. In the West, it's different. It's very, you have to be in a crib, you have to wear shoes, and you have to wear a hat, and you have to do this and that and the other. As soon as you come to be 16, you're free. So we have to break our fences while they have to build their fences. And all that is determined in God's order.
Correct.
And that is your karma.
Yeah.
I have something to share
Right.
since we have people here.
Yes.
This is
Please hang on, and we have something.
and we'll continue the discussion.
We will continue. It's just a 5-minute share.
So this is something which Asha Seva Kendra but sent out as an emailer on October 5th. I guess most of you would have received it. In case somebody has not received it, you may kindly check your mailboxes. We suspect that it could have landed up in one of your promotional folders. This appeal we had sent out for help from Asha Seva Kendra. So I'll just take about a couple of minutes to run you through that. Asha Seva Kendram is involved in 3 major projects on a regular basis. One is the Asha Gokulam initiative, where children's education are being supported in Mysore. It's called as Asha Gokulam. Currently, about 71 children are being supported for their educational needs. These children come from especially dysfunctional families, underprivileged background. So Asha Seva Kendram, through the Asha Gokulam initiative, supports these children to complete their education and become a contributor to the society and to their families. The second major initiative being organized by Asha Seva Kendram is towards temple revival. Many of you may be aware that especially with the COVID, a lot of temples have gone into non-functional mode, and puja and everything had stopped. So Srinivasanji has taken a personal initiative in getting this revived with Nitya Puja being commenced, and also an initiative being supported for the support of Vedashalas, Veda Patashalas and Goshalas, which is a continuation of our tradition, which is very essential for the future generation. So without the 3 major initiatives, a total the budgetary estimate for the financial year 22-23 was about 35 lakhs. Which is roughly about 50,000 US dollars, and the daily requirement was about 10,000 Indian rupees per day. Asha Gokulam, you can see that about 71 children, you have the breakup of children in college, school and high school. And in terms of the achievement, so the reason why this achievement is being pinpointed is basically because even with the little kind of help, extending a helping hand, we are able to make these children attain their own true nature and excel in their studies and become a contributor. So that is one important point what you would like to say. And second important thing is these funds are essential for these children to complete their education, because commitments have been made in terms of supporting the children for their education, and this is the kind of infrastructure that is being built up to support this initiative. Many of you have contributed, and I'm just running it through so that in case somebody has missed the email and has not has forgotten to contribute, you can make your contribution. This is in terms of the support for the Goshalas and Veda Patashalas, which is ongoing. In terms of the temple revival, some of the major functions held at the Meenakshi Sundareshwara Temple, Shakti Vinayaka Temple, Lakshmi Narasimha Temple, in the interior villages near Kovilpatti. I mean, this is basically being driven by Srinivasanji. Currently, we have received about 16 lakhs of donation for the year. We need to provide educational support for about 71 children. Where does our donations go? Basically, supporting the major portion component goes towards supporting the education needs of our children. the children studying in the Veda Patashalas and Puja revival in temples. And how do you contribute? You can go to the Asha Seva Kendram webpage. There's a donate button there. You can go ahead and do your contribution there. A lot of people from volunteers from Asha Seva Kendram are supporting, both in terms of funds as well as in terms of physical effort. We have Anirudhji and Maheshji, if you would like to say, add to anything to this. Maheshji, Anirudhji, there or the mood? Yeah, Maheshji is there. Maheshji would like to add?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to know, like, I know we are about 15 people in the class now. Is there a show of hands, like how many people have received or seen this email? And just as Narayanji said, some of them goes to different folders because it is not in our control. It's the way it's, I'm just curious, how many people did not receive so the email. So that way we will have some idea whether anyway we can improve things. Okay, I see Manjulaji has not received. I don't know anybody else. Yes, others have probably received it. So it's as Narayanji said, it's a very worthy cause, and we have about 5 months left for the completion of this financial year, and we have a good amount of funds to be generated for the continuation of the schools, children's education. The way I look at it, I mean, I've been to many other organizations donating, and also I've seen some of the work of Arsha Seva Kendram, because I spent all 9.5 months in India, in Coimbatore, earlier this year. So they're all very worthy cause, and Jayakumarji is very particular, doing the proper due diligence so it goes to the right cause. So the way I look at it is, we are all, say for example, several of us are attending multiple classes like Sanskritam, Bhagavad Gita, and Kathopanishad, and something else. So it is, the donation is our way of saying thank you or gratitude, appreciation for what Arsha Seva Kendram is doing to us in our life and what we are benefiting from this. So it's a no, one way to look at it is, they could have easily tagged a fee for all these classes and say this is a fee. That's typically is what is done in a Western culture, right? If you go to, or even in India, many places, you see you pay a fee wherever you want to get some benefit, right from movie theaters to football games or cricket game, whatever it is. So this is, it's been so, this organization works from only donation. It's like, for the organization prospers, grows, bears fruit only by the donations we give. It's like water to a plant, water and fertilizer to the plant. So for those who have already donated, a big thank you on behalf of Arsha Seva Kendra for your contribution. Those who have not, I humbly request you to do your part. It's a worthy cause. And if you have any questions, as Narayanji said, in the modality of donation or any questions, please do contact one of us, either Narayanji, myself, or Aniruddhaji. We will try to help you out. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Maheshji. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else
On
you want to, on Kathopanishad? You would like to talk about, please. So shall we end the class? Thank you so much. We'll end it with Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Dhanyavadaha.
Thank you, everybody.
Dhanyavadaha.
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 It is nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.